NFL football team to talk about a championship season. Well, we're going to talk about a season for the New York Giants in their 100th anniversary, the 1938 championship season, and all that it brought for the Giants. It's all coming up in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time.
This is your host, Darren Hayes. I'm glad to be joining you today to talk about the New York Giants in the 1938 season as part of our New York Giants celebration of their 100th season here for 2024. The 1938 season marked a pinnacle in the New York Giants history. Under the guidance of Coach Steve Owen, the team clinched the NFL Eastern title and ultimately captured the NFL championship, solidifying their status as a dominant force in professional football. The Giants' regular season was marked by a balanced attack strategy, a testament to their versatility and adaptability. With a final record of 8-2-1, they demonstrated their prowess on both sides of the ball. Their defense was a formidable obstacle for all opponents, allowing the fewest points in the league. And on offense, the team's balanced attack effectively moved the ball down the field and capitalized on scoring opportunities. The New York Football Club needed clear sailing throughout the season, and they did not have that because in their way was the defending National Football League champions from 1937, the Washington Redskins, who were also part of the Eastern Division. Washington led the Eastern Division all the way up going into week number 10, but they lost to the Chicago Bears 31-7 in week 10, which allowed the Giants to take over the top spot as New York that same week blanked the Cleveland Rams 28-0. Less than a month later, the stage was set for a December 4th game at the Polo Grounds, where the G-Men would host their foes from the nation's capital. This was, in essence, a game for the Eastern title, as the Giants sat at 7-2-1, and the Redskins were perched right behind them with a 6-2-2 record going into the contest. It was a win-and-in scenario for Washington, while the Giants could move on with a win or a tie. The game was a rematch from the 1937 season finale, in which Washington won handily 49-14, propelling them to the NFL championship game victory over the Chicago Bears 28-21. On December 4th, 1938, the largest NFL crowd of the season gathered at the Polo Grounds as 57,461 screaming fans, mainly from the Big Apple, witnessed the action. The Skins were a talented bunch, led by star quarterback Slinging Sammy Baugh and Bob McChesney, fullback Andy Farkas, and fellow fieldmates Ernie Pinkert, Max Krause, and Jay Turner. The Giants countered with a star-studded roster of their own, featuring quarterback Ed Danowski, backs Tuffy Lehmans, Bill Carcass, Ward Cuff, center Mel Hine, and end Jim Lee Howe. Much of the stat line for the game was misleading, as Washington outgained New York 207 yards to 160 in total offense, and the visitors tallied 13 first downs to the home team 6 times reaching the line to gain. This is very misleading, though, as all the other numbers in the game heavily lean towards the home team, including the scoreboard. The Giants' defense was outstanding, forcing 7 DC fumbles that helped propel Big Blue to a 36-0 rout in the game. 4 of the 5 New York touchdowns were set up on Redskin miscues and opportune times by the defense and special teams of the Giants. The scoring was led by Chuck Gelgotka, who caught Lehman's pass for a score and also took Bau's interception to the house. Cuff completed a pick six of his own, measuring 96 yards, and added more points off his toe in the kicking game. The Giants' successful season climaxed in the championship game against the Green Bay Packers, held on December 11th at the Polo Grounds. Over 48,000 spectators entered the New York City venue gates to root their teams on. The game was a thrilling contest that showcased both teams' talents and determinations to win that coveted title. The Packers had won the Western Division with an 8-4 record, outlasting the challenges of the Detroit Lions and Chicago Bears, who were nipping at their heels much of the season. A couple of weeks earlier, a dramatic win by the Pack over the Lions, 28-7, and a regular season meltdown of the Detroit Lions against the Eagles sealed Green Bay's appearance in the title game. Under head coach Curly Lambeau, Green Bay featured quarterback Arnie Herber and his favorite target Don Hudson. Other formidable gridiron legends such as Cecil Isbell, Ed Danowski, Andy Urim, and Clark Hinkle were also on the Wisconsin team's roster. On game day, just before the coin toss, Giant star Mel Hein was presented with a watch by NFL President Joe Carr, signifying him as the league's most outstanding player for the season, as he was at the top of the News Pro All-America voting. This award is on par with a modern NFL Player of the Year honors. The fans were in for a treat the rest of the way too, as the game lived up to the hype in one of the season's most exciting NFL contests. Staying true to form, the Giants took advantage of their opponents' miscues in using opportunities made on defense and maybe even more accurately stated, special teams, and jumped out to a 9-point lead in the first quarter on a Ward Cuff field goal, set up after New York's Jim Lee Howe blocked a Packer punt the Giants recovered at the Green Bay 7. 3 straight rushes were stymied by the Packers' short yardage defense, which set up Cuff's three-pointer. A bit later, a second Cecil Isbell punt was blocked, this time by Jim Poole, with Howell diving on the loose ball at the Green Bay 26. After a short pass gained some ground, the Packers' D was loosened up for the Tuffy Lehman's show to commence. Lehman's was handed the leather on multiple plays until he finally twisted and turned through reported 4 would-be tacklers of the Packers for a Giants touchdown. John Gildea's extra point try missed the mark, but the first quarter ended with the Giants up 9-0. The second stanza featured a flurry of points between the two teams. Green Bay got on the board first when Arnie Erber scrambled and launched a 49-yard strike to Carl Molyneux, who stepped under the goalpost and over the goal line to cut the New York lead to 2. The momentum was the Packers, who held the Giants on the next series and got the ball back, moving it to midfield before they fumbled it away, and New York's future Hall of Famer Mel Hein, Mr. All-Pro, All-NFL, came out of the pile with the pigskin. The Giants scored a touchdown of their own 6 plays later with a short pass from Danowski to Hap Bernard, but there was some controversy. Coach Lambeau would later comment that the officials made a bad call on this pass play, claiming that moving pictures would show that Barnum lost control of the ball as it flew out of the bounds shortly after it touched his hands, making it not a catch but an incomplete pass. This would have nullified that score. Isbell helped Packers get back into the game, though just before the half, leading a drive with his legs and arms that culminated when Paul Miller plunged over the goal line behind the block of his right guard to make the score 16-14 Giants at the intermission. Normally, Coach Lambeau would make some adjustments and possibly give a rousing speech in the locker room for his Packers roster, but this particular game, the legendary sideline chief was eerily absent from the locker room. The halftime session was filled with this drama as Curly Lambeau needed clarifications from the officials from the earlier controversial touchdown play as they were walking off the field. And in not following the rest of the team to the Polo Grounds visitors' locker room, Lambeau got disoriented and made a wrong turn, and by some bizarre circumstance found himself outside of the stadium gates. When he tried to return, the gatekeepers did not recognize him and would not believe his story to let him re-enter into the Polo Grounds. Eventually, the commotion of Lambeau's pleas was heard by sports writers who confirmed his identity, and Old Curly was allowed entrance into just in time to get back onto the field with his team. The team showed no ill effects from not having their field boss present in the locker room, though. The second half started with excitement as Green Bay's Joe Law returned the kickoff to the Packers 31. Then, with a combination of long runs by Clark Hinkle and Bob Monet, moved the drive to the New York 14 before a fourth and less than a half yard brought on the field goal try. The boot by Paul Eckenbreston was true, and the visitors went up by 1 on the scoreboard. This lead would only be for 3 minutes, though, as New York took the ball after the kick and went on a long drive of their own that ended with the Giants' back, Hank Soar, snatching an errant pass off of Hinkle's fingertips and then tiptoeing across the goal line stripe to put Big Blue up 23-17. The game had a controversial fourth quarter play that Lambeau would later point to when an apparent long pass play from Herber to Gastenbein would have moved the sticks was called back by the officials, who stated that the receiver was ineligible on the play due to formation. The Giants' defense held on the next play and gave New York the ball back. Their drive was stalled, and Green Bay would get the ball back with little time left on the scoreboard clock. The Packers were not done, though. As in the last 11 seconds in regulation, Green Bay's offense moved the ball some 40 yards at field position. Ultimately, the Giants emerged victorious as they stalled the drive with a score of 23-17, securing their place in NFL history as the champions of the National Football League for 1938. The 1938 New York Giants were a team defined by their grit, skill, and most importantly, their unwavering commitment to excellence and opportunistic defensive and special team play. This dedication and determination were critical factors in their championship triumph, a cherished chapter in a franchise's storied legacy, which you can hear these 100 years of highlights here on Pigskin Dispatch every Monday. And make sure you catch up on our YouTube channel or on our podcast at your favorite podcast provider for Pigskin Dispatch. We'd love to have you back again, so make sure you hit that subscription button and follow us on Twitter at Pigskin Dispatch, Facebook at Pigskin Dispatch, and your favorite podcast provider. Till next time, everybody, have a great Gridiron Day. That's all the football history we have today, folks. Join us back tomorrow for more of your football history. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.